Have you ever wondered what it means to build a kingdom? Do you wonder if you have the ability to build one of your own? Today, we are going to discuss the first stage in creating the kingdom you want to have. There is nothing more amazing than watching something that you see in your mind start to become a reality in real life. And too many people deprive themselves of that opportunity because of fear, because they're being held back by thoughts of their own. Well, maybe one day. I don't know. Well, here's the deal. There's a lot of people in the grave who said maybe one day and never accomplished anything. And I know that most people don't really want that to be their reality. They wish that they could do something grander, bigger, more exciting. And so this season in Hanging with the Fellows, what we are gonna do is we're gonna take you step by step through the process to build your kingdom.
Gentlemen, welcome to Destiny Education Hanging with the Fellows podcast with your host, Toina.
When we talk about building our kingdom, what does that really look like? You see, to understand building your kingdom, you have to first begin by understanding the foundation. Whenever you build an actual house, right, you have some type of foundation. For some houses, it's a foundation that includes a basement. In some areas, it's a foundation that's a slab. In other areas, it's a raised foundation, so it's built on stilts. No matter what type of foundation you want to build, the one thing that you want to make sure about your foundation is that it's solid and nothing can shake it. You know, one of the things that the Bible refers to is that there was a man who built on sand. And when that man built on sand, the storms came and it washed away his house because his foundation wasn't solid. But there was another man who built on rock. And when the inevitable storms came, that house stayed standing. What that verse is actually talking about is building on the rock being Jesus Christ. But for those of you who choose not to believe that Jesus is who he says he is, no harm, no foul. You can still build on the biblical principles, which are building on the rock. What many people don't understand about choosing not to build with Jesus is that when you're working with Jesus, he gives you upper hands. He reaches out, he hands something off to you, he does something for you. He steps in on occasion to help you when things start looking their darkest. When you don't have that and you're standing on the biblical principles, sometimes it takes a lot longer for things to happen and a lot longer for things to come through. Now, here's the other thing I want you to understand before we get into this. The Father's very clear. I will rain on the just and the unjust alike. The reason he can say that is because of these principles. If someone who does not believe in Jesus chooses to stand on the principles that are within the world, no matter if they call them karma or if they call them Joe Schmo, as long as they stand on biblical principles, they will always find success. So when you see evil people who are wealthy and these people are actually evil, it's not because the money made them evil. It was they started in a bad place and then moved to it. It's because they built on principles that can't fail. And that's the thing I want you to understand. Most of those people who are wealthy, if you've ever read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, one of the things that they all talked about were things that are built on biblical concepts. Those concepts allowed them to find the success that they were looking for. So the first thing that you have to have when you have a foundation is an understanding of the principles. And that'll probably be like one of the second or third things that we talk about in this episode today, because I want you to really understand what these biblical principles do for you, okay? When you're building your kingdom, you want to first begin by starting with a foundation that's built on rock. The thing that stops most people from building that foundation on rock is the noise that's in their head. It's the part of them that's holding back. You see, we often forget about adrenal responses, fight, flight, or freeze. When I was growing up, it was fight or flight. But it wasn't long before they started talking about it that I started talking about this thing called freeze. And the reason I understood freeze was because I was living through it. And I understood what it was like to want to move forward in something or to jump into something. And then all of a sudden you realize that you're in over your head and you just get stuck. And you can't move and you can't breathe and the walls feel like they're closing in on you or you feel like you're buried alive inside of a coffin. I mean, it's a terrible feeling, right? When you don't understand these adrenal responses, you can't control for them. When your foundation is not built on biblical principles, those adrenal responses of fight, flight, or freeze have a greater level of impact on you. And they really impact and alter the results that you see when you're in the process of trying to build. And so I want to begin by looking at these things, because the more you look at these responses as you're building your kingdom, the more you can really start to work with your mind. Okay? There are 4 components that build the foundation for every kingdom. Within them, you can find most of the biblical principles. So, the 4 areas, number 1 is beliefs. Number 2 is knowledge. Number 3 is understanding. And number 4 is faith. Now, I want you to understand why belief is first. Because what we believe is what we produce. I want to tell you the story of a young lady. Her father lived in a hotel. She loved going to visit him at the hotel. She loved the hotel. And it's funny because most people think that she loved the elegance of the hotel. But really what she loved was she loved the people. And so she would talk to the people. She got to know them by first name. She would visit with bartenders. And she was totally underage. This is a different time. She wasn't a drinker, so she wasn't drinking or anything like that. But she would hang out and play pool and while her father was in meetings. And so the guys would have a break. And so sometimes they would shoot balls with her as long as the bosses weren't watching. She just got to know everybody. And so she loved the environment of a hotel. And one of the things that she always said to herself was that when she grew up, she would live in a hotel. The irony is that as she got older, there were numerous times in her life where she spent extended times in hotels. And she stayed true to form. Everywhere she went, she got to know the people who worked at the hotels. And so she would develop these relationships with people that lasted long beyond after they left and after she left. And what ended up happening is that as she would travel across the country, she would stay in their new hotels, their new respective hotels, and have equally as much fun and expand the people that she knew because of this experience she had when she was younger. And so that impacted and always created a great opportunity for her. So I want you to see in this story what really is going on. She came to it with a belief. The belief was, living in a hotel is the greatest thing in the world. Why doesn't everybody do it? That was her belief. And so as a result of that belief, she interacted with the staff of the hotel, which means that they opened opportunities for her. She got to experience things. She got to do things that other people in that hotel may have had to have paid for or weren't authorized to do because they didn't have that same camaraderie with the people, right? And so if there was something going on in an area where she normally worked and the staff needed it, they would just move her to another area. And so it got to the point where her little sections of the hotel became known as her office. And people would ask her, "Are you going to be in your office?" So it was really cute to watch this happen. And so I want you to understand the power of belief. Because when you believe something, you behave in a way that can only bring success. It can only bring growth. It can only bring opportunities, because what you're doing is you're walking in the biblical principle of belief. All Jesus ever asked of anyone is that you believe. Belief is a form of faith. It's a little bit stronger than faith, but I want you to understand them. If you're at the beginning, I want you to look at them as kind of side by side. Faith and belief, you can't have one without the other. In order to believe, you have to have faith. In order for her to continue believing that hotels were the best place, she had to keep powering that by having amazing opportunities. Now, there were some hotels she went to where the people were absolutely terrible, and she's like, I'll never stay here again. And so usually she spent one day there and she would move on to whatever her location was or to a new hotel. Because if something doesn't line up with a belief that you have, you don't often put yourself in that position. But when it's in line with something that you already believe, you stay. So whether that be positive or negative, if she had believed that all hotels were horrible, awful places, every time she went to a hotel, she would have horrible, awful experiences. But it would be because she was already bringing that to the table and open to receiving that. Are you following what I'm saying? With that, I want to take you into knowledge, because what does knowledge mean? It means that you have to know something. You have to educate yourself. That's what knowledge is talking about. That's why the Bible tells you to study to show thyself approved. Because in order to make relationships with varieties of people, you have to have a broad array of knowledge. You have to be able to hold conversations with people who are in science fields and computer engineering, and you have to be able to talk to all of these people and understand that by being interested in them, they will in turn often show interest in you and the things that you're doing. These are the things that begin to create your experience as you know it. When you're more worried about you tend to isolate people, and everything you do becomes transactional. That transactional approach will only take you so far. Remember who Jesus was. He was always relational. So when you have a relational experience or in a relational situation, it completely changes how people respond to you and how you respond to those people. And all of a sudden, you don't take things out of context. You don't let things blow you up. If somebody has to change something, you're like, okay, that's fine. But it's because of that relationship, that give and take. Like, I understand that you have things going on and you understand that I have things going on. And when this is right, we will be able to come together and get this done. And so that's what that knowledge allows you to do. It opens up doors. It allows you to expand the array of people that you interact with. And let's be real, you never know who knows who. And it's all about who knows you as to how far, how fast you get. People will always tell you it's who you know. Because I know Tyler Perry, but Tyler Perry doesn't know me. Do you understand what I'm saying? So what am I going to do? Pick up the phone and say, hey, Tyler, it's Toina. And he's going to go, who? If he even answered the phone, right? So it's not about who you know. It's about who knows you. The more people know you, the more people have great things to say about you, the more people are willing to work with you and to interact with you. And that's the thing that I want you to understand. Now, let's look at understanding, because a lot of people think that understanding and knowledge are the same thing, but they're actually two different sides of the coin. Understanding means that I can see into a situation and see deeper into the situation than most people can. Let me give you an example. One of the things that makes Eminem such a dynamic rapper is that he has the ability to look beyond what people say and what people are doing, and to pull out that story from underground, that stuff that they're trying to keep hidden, he's able to see. And when he sees that and he puts it in his rap, people sit back and they're thrown off guard by his ability to look into who they are, to understand who they are, where they come from, what their background is, these kinds of things. That is what makes him such a dynamic rapper. You know, if he had all the speed and the number of words and all of that, he'd still be a good rapper. But he is one of the GOATs because of his ability to understand his topic, his art, and the people he is talking about or working with. He is really amazing at those things. When you're looking and dealing with developing understanding, what you're actually doing is you're looking for a deeper insight into the motivation behind why individuals are doing what they're doing. Not so much the why as what powers them, what motivates them, what gets them moving, what makes them want to accomplish the things that they want to accomplish, what gives them the drive. It is that curiosity and that willingness to develop that understanding that allows you to seek to grow to the level of excellence instead of the level of mediocrity. Finally, faith. Now, this is not necessarily a faith in Jesus, although everybody should have that. Not everybody does. This is a faith that what you put your hand to do will be successful when the time is right. See, most people forget that they will be a success. You're like a tree planted by the river, and in due season, you will produce your fruit. And so what I want you to understand is that you've got to move in that faith until you begin to see the results produce. And that's why stories like Eminem's story, Tyler Perry's story are so vitally important, because they allow you to understand that you are going to have to grow through some things in order to get to that location or that place where you really want to be. And that faith, that's the fuel, the gasoline in your vehicle that keeps you going even through the hard times. The faith, the belief that you are actually going to get there. Understanding how these all work together can be vital to your success. And throughout this last segment, I pretty much explained it. But let's do a review of how they all work together. First, you have to believe, because without belief, you won't start doing anything. Then you have to build a knowledge of your subject, a knowledge of the people around you, and a knowledge of different information that could potentially be applicable to whatever project you're beginning. Whether you're starting a business, whether you're building a certain aspect of your kingdom, all kingdoms, I'm going to tell you right now, are always going to be built with business. It's all part of the Bible. It's from day one, every one of us was supposed to own our own business. We have since allowed the world to corrupt us into believing that we first have to work for other people, but that's not actually the truth. So from the knowledge, you will begin to develop understanding. That knowledge allows you to see deeper into situations and to understand motivations. That motivation makes it easier for you to sell to people, to work with people, to help people. All of these things is what understanding allows you to do. And finally, faith is your gas tank. It's the fuel that keeps you moving through the hard times, the really bad times, the times when you're like, oh, I'm not gonna make it. This is too hard. You're gonna have all of that. But the faith keeps you moving forward and is the thing that makes you successful. So for this week, I want to stop here because I want to give you a chance to really digest what we talked about today and to start chewing on it a little. And because most of you have boxes that you open and you put information in, I think if we go into principles right now, it's going to overwhelm you. So I make you this promise. Next Tuesday, we're going to cover the principles, how they work in this process, and how to start implementing those principles so that you can start seeing the success that you're looking for. On July 15, 2025 at noon Eastern Standard Time, I want you to join us on Zoom for our free mindset training. You don't want to miss this life-changing information we will deliver in this program. Click the link in the description because we are only taking 10 people this round. We have other people already registered. You've got 10 slots left. Join it. You do not want to miss this opportunity to actually go and make a difference. We're not talking about this is going to be some fluffy frou-frou, oh, I want to feel good. You are going to leave this ready to get to work with your mind programmed and set, and you're going to be like, yeah, I can do this. And you're going to have concrete steps that will allow you to go to the next level. So I can't wait to see you there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so that you know every time we release a new video. See you next week.